Is it possible that that game between the two, and I know you'd like this, could be between two undefeated teams?
Oh, I think that's really unlikely. Teams to make it that far into the season undefeated. Boy, oh boy. I know.
You'd set up a card table. You'd set up a card table in midfield, wouldn't you, before the game?
Gary, let me ask this: do you think the Broncos and the Patriots, Brady and Manning, are going to be facing off in the AFC Championship game again this year?
See, that's a much more realistic possibility than both teams being undefeated, 12 or 13 weeks into the season. But I think there's a good chance of it, especially if Gary Kubiak gives the offense back to Peyton. I understand.
You must have read my column yesterday. I mean, you really,
but Woody, you and I have always thought alike.
Yeah, but I mean, my point yesterday, my point yesterday basically was, Peyton's in his last couple of years. If Gary wants to install that quarterback, do it with Brock Osweiler or whoever comes along. Let Peyton finish doing what he does. Because people are going to say, well, the Broncos don't get to the Super Bowl. They got the Super Bowl, but, they don't play. And this is John Elway's point. With this defense and the Peyton offense, imagine if they click, how great that team would be.
I agree. As long as you have Peyton and you decide to bring him back and you kind of embarrassed him a little bit by, the Broncos making him take a $4 million pay cut. Not that we need to hold any benefits for Peyton. He's doing okay, but it's still, for a player of his magnitude, to have to take a $4 million pay cut, I'm sure it didn't sit very well with him. But then to take away his offense, that really makes no sense to me. That as long as you decide to bring him back, then let him do what he's done best, because when he's been healthy in Denver, and he wasn't in December or in January last year, it's pretty much been an unstoppable offense. For the most part. Now, I agree, when you get to the cold weather and you're trying to win in the playoffs, you have to be able to run the ball, especially if you're trying to protect the lead and run off some clock. But, I mean, there's certainly a way to work that in. I just think putting Peyton at the line of scrimmage is just something. I mean, I can't remember the last time, over the first two games, how many times did he take a snap from the line of scrimmage? And it was probably more than he's done, in the last 5 years. If you're going to keep Peyton, let him run his offense. You can work in some of the play action a little bit and run the ball, but you're turning him into something that he's not.
Alex Smith.
Play him from the line of scrimmage, you might as well have somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Get him out of there.
Try to turn him into a game manager. He's not. So.
All right, one more time.
And you saw what happened in Kansas City the other night. When we were down 14-0, all of a sudden, he's back in the shotgun almost predominantly, and he played very, very well, especially in that last drive. And I mean, that was a huge win. I mean, I'm watching that game, guys, and I'm thinking, if it keeps up like that, and Kansas City does to the Broncos what they did to New England last year, and that was really like the first really bad game that Tom Brady had played in a very long time. But after that game, people are actually asking Belichick, are you going to evaluate the quarterback situation? And that's with Jimmy Garoppolo as the backup. But leading into that game in Kansas City last week, I mean, you guys know better than me, all the heat that was on Peyton based on how he finished up last year and how he played against Baltimore in the first game. If that game was a 35-10 game, I mean, it would have been hell for Peyton this week in Denver. So that, in terms of the rest of his career, that was a crucial comeback from him to kind of quiet people down a little bit.
He's Gary Myers, and his latest book is Brady versus Manning, the untold story of the rivalry that transformed the NFL. Go pick it up at all major book outlets. Gary, appreciate your time as always.
Hope to talk to you before the game.
Thank you very much for having me on. It's much easier to talk to you from my home than it was standing out in the middle of downtown Manhattan with cars going by after the first day of the Brady hearing.
Yeah. Thanks again, Gary.
Hey, we'll talk to you soon, all right?